Welcome. Welcome to Wharton Moneyball. Welcome to a full hour of sports analytics here on the Wharton Podcast Network. This is Cade Massey hosting today with the whole crew. Eric Bradlow is here. Adi Wyner is here. Shane Jensen's here. All of us from our home offices. No. Adi's at work. He's at work. The rest of us at home offices. We also have a guest. We're going to introduce him in just a minute. We are recording on Tuesday afternoon, as we typically do, a little earlier in the day. It'll go up on Wednesday. We are going to run a regular show today. Going to have a guest in the first half hour and open lines in the second half hour. This week, well, we have the college football playoff on us now. This is playoff week, round one week. And it's been a little while since we've done this. So we want to talk college football. Who do we want to talk college football with? Like everybody else, we want to talk it with Bill Connelly. Bill Connelly, gracious enough to join us. Bill, welcome and good to see you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bill, you've got to be busier than usual this week. You said coming on 7,000 word round one preview. Is that right? That's a lot of words, Bill.
I think it's going to come in at about 8, and then I'm going to try to cut it to 6, I think is the goal here.
All right.
Because they can't all be 8,000 words. Like, sure, some people might want to read that, but I got to get it down a little bit.
Hey, Bill, is there more than about 30 or 40 words to say about two of the games?
Yes.
That's what that's his mission in life, is to make us care about somebody other than Georgia and Ohio State.
Actually, the game that might be the hardest is nobody, not even my OU fan friends, wanted to see an Alabama-Oklahoma rematch. That was ugly football, and it will be ugly football again. So that one was the hardest.
Do you think the committee gave any consideration to matches, and do you think they should?
Because they were locked in to this absurd process where if there's a team separating Notre Dame and Miami, Miami will get in. And if there's not a team separating if there's a team separated Notre Dame and Miami, Notre Dame will get in. And if there's not a team separated Notre Dame and Miami, Miami will get in. They couldn't move Alabama because that would impact who gets in between Notre Dame and Miami. And this was the dumbest process imaginable. It is exposed to every single flaw in the current system. So I don't think they could have moved them, because if they moved Alabama to give them a different matchup, suddenly Notre Dame's in instead of Miami, because that's what we want out of this.
Okay, so we are not going to relitigate the playoff.
I want to relitigate it forever.
Well, they did tweak things between year 1 and 2 of the 12-team format. Perhaps they'll tweak it again. Maybe something about the process. I don't think anybody's ever been as unhappy about it as it's been a long time. It's been almost a generation since we've been this unhappy. But let's not, for the time being, let's not. Let's go forward. Let's go forward looking and talk about actual football. And I've been away from the show for a couple of weeks, and we've been away from college football. The whole world has, except for Army Navy and that riveting Washington Boise State game this weekend. What do we need to? Let's get back into the frame of mind, Bill. We've got some playoff football. And this is only the second year that we've had, 4 round one games on. We have playoff games on home campuses. I mean, let's get back into that mindset. Tell us what you're excited about this weekend. Give us like 3 big ideas or 3 things you're excited about to get us back in this frame of mind.
Well, I guess the most me answer I could give would be Montana State for a spot in the FCS finals. That's what I'm most excited about. But
of course, we here are interested, of course, in Villanova.
That's right.
Yale played Montana in the second round.
Montana State, Roddy, get it right. Montana State.
Montana State, right.
I have many opinions about that, but I guess I'll focus on what we're actually supposed to talk about. No, you're right. This was, last year we got 4 bad games. Technically, not any of them were close, but they were still pretty incredible in that they unlocked this new substance for college football called playoff home field advantage. Like watching SMU's quarterback have to cover his ears because things were so loud. They call a timeout. They come back from the timeout and it's louder, and he immediately throws a pick 6. That was kind of amazing. College football is always kind of known for the atmospheres and whatnot, and we unlocked a whole new thing. And now we get 4 new home stadiums to kind of show off here with Owen Field, with College Station, Oxford, Norman, and Eugene. That's going to be cool in and of itself. It is a spectacle in that regard. So hopefully, if we get one amazing game, that'll be one more than last year. We'll just be continuing to trend upward, and we'll see if we get that one.
Can I get a quick answer and tell me what is the point spread differential for a home game? currently estimated in college?
So I've always, the thing that's always worked best to me is about 2.5 points. I've fiddled with less than that at times. I think there have been a couple years where maybe it should have been less. And of course, 20 and 21 got all weird, but I still use 2.5.
It's a very new dynamic for playoff game. Well, I mean, playoff games obviously are a new dynamic themselves, but having the home field, is there much of a movement towards? I know because is this the only round that's actually in home stadiums, and then they start moving into the bowls and everything like that? Is there much energy towards additional home?
There's extreme energy for it. There's a lot of energy for it. Everybody wants quarterfinal home games as well. The problem is the bowls had to be kind of placated to get the system we got. And therefore, I'm personally, I wrote about this last year and I still think I'm right. They wanted those quarterfinals in major bowl slots because that would, make the major bowls still feel like major bowls and whatnot. I don't think that's true. Like if you basically put the quarterfinals in home sites, but then took just basically the top 8 teams that didn't make the field, stick them in those 4 major bowls, among other things, we would have gotten a USC Texas Rose Bowl this year on the 20th anniversary of the USC Texas Rose Bowl that we all still talk about. That would have been a lot better than Indiana versus Oklahoma or something, where it's just basically using Pasadena as a neutral site quarterfinal.
And in fact, you could argue it's probably more competitive because the distance between, say, 13, 14, 15th best team in the nation,
it's very tight.
And the 20th is much smaller than what we're doing with 1 and 12.
Right. Well, Bill, give us a couple words on each, and let's work up kind of from the bottom, maybe.
Okay.
So, give us something on James Madison versus Oregon. What could we learn? Oregon presumably is an actual national title contender, but can we learn anything about them from their game against James Madison?
Well, JMU's defense really is pretty solid. It's not going to be Big Ten solid. I'm sure they're a little lighter here and there. But they held Louisville, beginning of the year, Louisville was kind of banged up all year, but they were about as healthy as they'd been all season. They held Louisville to 285 yards. They're first in my success rate measure, success rate allowed, JMU is. I think Oregon's going to, this is going to be kind of your typical mid-major upset approach, I think, from JMU, where, give them whatever they want between the 30s, let them run the ball, whatever, and then try to stop them on third downs and limit the pass and things like that. Oregon hasn't always passed very well this year. The receiving core has been all over the place in terms of injuries. And I think JMU will have a chance at least to do the third downs, red zone, no big plays kind of approach. And I think they have enough talent to do that. Where I'm more concerned, I think, is JMU's offense. When the better defenses they played, it was pretty much big plays or nothing for them. They beat, Washington State had the weirdest year ever, almost beat 2 playoff teams in Ole Miss and James Madison. And JMU got a 70-yard run late that basically took that game for them. They were struggling against Troy and snow and all this stuff, and Wayne Knight rips off another big run and kind of opens things up for them. I don't think they're going to pull that off. You're going to have to get to at least 20 points against Oregon. I'm not sure they can, but I think it can absolutely be a competitive game. Problem is, 2 years ago, we watched Oregon play Liberty in a major bowl game, that G5 thing again, and they acted like they were offended they even had to share the field with Liberty and just absolutely erased them from the opening snap. So I need to, if it's tied if it's still scoreless after 10 minutes, then I'm confident, you can put together a really good game. But I do still have that memory in the back of my head that they're just going to come out and be up 21-0 immediately.
So Bill, what do you see, maybe to Cade's point, what do you see that the betting market's not seeing? You think it could be a competitive game, but the line's 21.
Yeah, so, SP plus and FPI have it around 15, I think, and that's just because JMU, with the schedule they have faced, which of course only included one power conference team, against Louisville, team that also beat Miami, and it was tied midway through the fourth quarter till a fumble, basically. JMU graded out great on paper. Their defense has been awesome all year. Their offense has been awesome the back half of the season. And they're a good team. That's, again, I think Oregon has a gear that only 4 or 5 teams have. I would say there are 5 teams, I think, that could compete for the title, and they're the only one that doesn't get a bye. And so, I would expect Oregon to look great and win, but for the season as a whole, they've only apparently been about 15 points better than JMU.
All right, that's the last game of the weekend. That's Saturday night. The game before that is the other G5 game. That's Tulane going to Ole Miss. It's a Southern game. It's also a coaching change situation. What which is very odd for two playoff teams. So give us something that we should keep an eye on, or why we should be interested in Tulane Ole Miss.
The major thing, and I'm going to lean on this in the preview just so I can try to make it sound as interesting as possible. We saw this game in September as well, and Ole Miss won by 35, which is never great heading in. But also, we've had 6 rematches this season, 5 conference title games, and the whole Oregon State, Washington State playing twice thing. And in 5 of the 6, the team that lost the first game won the second. And they were huge, like 27-point swing in one game, 24-point swing in another. Tulane played its worst game imaginable early in the season. Jake Retzlaff, their quarterback, he showed up on campus in August. He was booted from BYU over the summer. We're kind of mutually, whatever that situation ended up being. Weird stuff. Look it up. But he shows up in August. He, first 2 games of the year, they were able to run well enough that he didn't even really have to have chemistry with his receivers. Then suddenly he had to have chemistry because they couldn't run all that well, had no chemistry with his receivers, had the worst game of his life. The Ole Miss, meanwhile, had just transitioned to Trinidad Chambliss at quarterback, the Ferris State go D2, the Ferris State transfer, and he had only started 1 game at that point. So Tulane thought, hey, new guy, let's attack as much as possible. Let's blitz and make him uncomfortable. And he crushed them, just absolutely obliterated them, because you can't do that to him, as other teams have found out. So I think basically we're going to get a much better performance from Tulane here, both because Retzlaff knows his receivers' names and because they understand what Chambliss can and can't do. That's probably not enough to make up 35 points, and Ole Miss is the better team. But again, I do think we're going to get we could get a much more entertaining game out of it, aside from all the unknowns of, Lane Kiffin's already gone, John Summerall's leaving, all that stuff is going to, that's a weird thing to itself, I guess.
So, Bill, how much does the change in coaching that Cade just brought up affect like the way you're thinking? Like, how much does it move the spread in your mind or the win probability?
So it's different in that John Summerall is still at Tulane, but you can't win when Lane Kiffin leaves for one of Ole Miss's rivals. You can't let him stay at Ole Miss and continue to make everybody feel like he's recruiting all Ole Miss's best players to LSU. So if it impacts anybody, you would think it would impact Ole Miss negatively. But it is such a nebulous thing. I mean, they played so well down the stretch despite all the rumors and the winds blowing about Kiffin leaving and all that. So they are clearly their own team, and they still have Golden, the defensive coordinator, is now taken over. So really, it's only one person who's really changed. So I don't really anticipate any specific change. If there's a change, I figure it's negative for Ole Miss, but I'm doubting.
Well, you could tell a story that they're now galvanized and they're pissed at Kiffin, and
that too.
They feel like abandoned, and we're going to show him. And it would be one hell of a story if they made a run of the playoffs after he left.
They're talented,
but we can pick that up.
They're a strong team.
We're gonna, once we do the first round games before we leave, we'll get a little bit of a thought from you on the rest of the bracket. But you already gave away that you think there are 5 real contenders. That means Ole Miss is not one of them, which is reasonable. But let's come back to it. Okay. The Friday night game is the 8-9 game. That's Alabama going to Oklahoma for a rematch. I believe the first game was at Alabama that Oklahoma managed to win somehow. So you said this was going to be ugly. Neither one of these teams is going to make a long run in the playoffs, right? They're going to run up against Indiana the next time. But what's interesting to you about Alabama?
Well, I think, there were 2 games. I looked it up. I have my post-game win expectancy number, which I always tweet out, and it's reasonably popular on social, where I look at, like, here are all the stats from this given game, toss them up in the air, and it says that Team A would have won this game X% of the time based on success rates and blah, blah, blah.
Love it. We love it.
This was the 5th least likely result of the season, according to post-game win expectancy. Alabama almost doubled Oklahoma's yardage, almost doubled their success rate. Basically from the stats the game produced, you had a 5% chance of winning, but they returned a pick, 87 yards for a touchdown. They blocked a field goal at the end of the first half. They recovered 3 turnovers for Alabama. One was a muff punt. OU scored points on 3 drives that didn't gain more than like 30 yards. It was just the perfect.
About basically the strategy that the Super Bowl champion Eagles are using this season as well to win games, I think.
Like an extreme version of that, yes.
Outcome not at all agreeing with the peripherals.
No, it was a really super ugly game. And from that standpoint alone, you figure, all Alabama has to do is play like they did last time and not muff a punt or not get a field goal blocked or lose 2 other turnovers, and they're fine. But they haven't looked like a playoff team since October. They handled Tennessee really well. They finished that 4-game stretch where they won 4 straight ranked games. They had the best resume in the country, and then they were out of gas. They didn't look great against South. They tried to blow it against South Carolina. Didn't look great against LSU, looked downright bad against Auburn, and still rose in the playoff rankings after that game, and then got crushed by Georgia and somehow didn't fall in the playoff rankings. So they're very lucky to be here. And, now that they're here and they've spent the last 2 weeks being told they're lucky to be here. So that, you never know the whole galvanizing thing, but Ty Simpson's timing is gone. He's been battling without a run game all year, and suddenly he just looked horrific against Georgia. Didn't look very good against Auburn either. So if that doesn't change, it doesn't matter. OU will still win. But they can at least take heart in the fact that they were, on paper, they were demonstrably superior the first time around.
I feel like the rhetoric around Oklahoma's defense just got stronger and stronger over the course of the year, maybe because their defense did. Venables, of course, has that reputation. Mateer, the wild card at the end of the season that he seemed at the beginning of the season, I would say, overall. You sound a little bit optimistic about Oklahoma.
Yeah, I mean, basically because of Alabama. And the fact that OU, to the extent that identity really matters in these things, they know exactly what they have to do to win a football game. Alabama's kind of lost in the winds right now. They don't know how they're going to move the ball or anything like that. But OU knows we're going to play defense. We're going to force turnovers. We're going to pounce on every single. Our offense may stink, but we're great in the red zone. So any chance we get, we're getting 7 points out of it. And we're going to hope to hit one big pass play at some point in the game. Missouri completely controlled the first half against Oklahoma, but could only get up like 3-0 because OU's defense was really good and they missed a field goal and then suddenly won. I think it was like an 87-yard pass to Isaiah Satania, and poof, they were ahead and they went on to win like 17-6. One big pass play to Satania against LSU as well, and that was it. So that's their formula, and they know it really well. And to the extent that matters, like, I'd rather just have a great overall team. That probably would matter more. But they are very confident in their formula, and that could end up mattering here.
Okay, well, so can Simpson get his mojo back? That's an interesting question, especially against Venables' defense. Can Satania can they continue to hit this Satania button? And can they get any defensive turnovers? Okay, fine. Okay, surely the most interesting game of week 1 is Miami at A&M. It's the first game on Saturday. Kyle Field is one of the great places to see football in America, and this is going to be a playoff game there. Are you kidding me? They should have put this the night game. I can't believe they didn't. But 11 o'clock still, Central Time. Miami, I mean, you've said there's only 5 contenders. Of the others, I mean, Ole Miss must have some kind of remote chance, and Miami surely. I'm a little short on A&M because of Marcel Reed, but Miami maybe. What do you think about this game?
This is what I've set it up in the preview. If you tell me either one of these teams won by 28 points, I'll believe you immediately. They are both extremely just up and down and kind of frantic teams at times, especially A&M. A&M, you can basically guarantee that Marcel Reed's going to look terrible for one quarter and great for one, and then the other 2 quarters are going to basically decide the game.
Good. That's great.
And so that can go in any number of directions. Miami is just, man, they just so number one, their defense is very good. Secondary completely recrafted in the transfer portal. Kind of underrated almost because we talk a lot about Ruben Bain up front and Akeem Mesidor up front. Secondary's been awesome. The whole defense is good. Not necessarily, I mean, A&M's played other good defenses, so they're not going to be surprised by that or the athleticism or anything, but really good unit. Miami's offense, however, is just, 6 yards at a time and very efficient. Fewest big plays by far of anybody in this field. They really are just kind of measured and dink and dunk down the field, which is fine, except that means you need like 11 plays to score a touchdown. And there have been a couple games where Carson Beck can't go 11 plays without throwing an interception. So they looked spectacular at the beginning of the year. They really did look strong late. Once they started climbing, somehow catching up to Notre Dame in the playoff rankings, they started playing well again. In between, they were extremely mediocre and more mediocre than I think A&M's been at any stretch this season. So that's really, it's really hard to get a read on this game because you could really talk yourself into a huge advantage either way. If it's close, A&M, because they're experienced in that this year. They're 4-0 on 1-score games, and Miami just can't escape the Mario Cristobal allegations when it comes to being too tight, too conservative, just too cautious down the stretch. It cost them twice. It almost cost them 2 more times.
Okay. Is it fair to characterize A&M's some defenses, and A&M seems to be one of these defenses this year, it's really kind of an explosive play defense.
Yeah.
It's a high havoc defense.
Extremely
they get a lot of
nothing.
tackle for losses, but they get these big blown plays against them. Okay, so I saw that against South Carolina big time, saw it against Texas big time. It seems to be the philosophy. How does that match up with how you characterize Miami's 6 yards in a cloud of dust?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why, like, if you tell me Miami just, number one remained efficient, but also made big plays because A&M always gives up big plays, then they're set. They're gonna roll. But if they can't be efficient because A&M renders you inefficient, they force the longest third downs in the country. They have the best third down conversion rate allowed in the country. They have the best pass rush numbers in the country. If Miami isn't able, if they're in 2nd and 8 or 3rd and 7 a lot, that favors A&M dramatically. So it is one of those kind of strength versus weakness versus strength kind of situations that you can really talk yourself into seeing anything.
Eric's going to jump in.
Yeah, Bill, I was just going to ask you, the length of time between when they last played, have you or others, they ever looked at, does it tend to favor the stronger team, the weaker team, the offense, the defense? Has there been any studies of this, and like, what should we expect? Because I'm like, the standard, I have 6 days to prepare for this other team.
Yeah.
I've had 4 weeks to prepare for this other team.
Well, this specific gap is kind of a new one, and that basically everybody's had 2 weeks off now, or maybe 3. And last year was the first time we saw everybody with this exact gap of time, and it turned out the favorites rolled in all the games. So maybe that's the answer. But it is like, we're used to bowl breaks where everybody's off for like 6 weeks. This one's right in between. It's like 2 bye weeks instead of an actual huge gap. And so I don't know. I think we need more data on this one. But last year it sure seemed to. Well, last year I guess it favored all the favorites in the first round, and then it favored all the teams that had just played in the first round in the quarterfinals, because all those other teams had been off a month in the quarterfinals, and all the teams that had byes struggled.
Well, there's even one more wrinkle. Some of these teams played in conference championships. In fact. Well, and some didn't. No, all of them did. The second round hosts all played in conference championships, so it dampens that time off. But it's an open question, Eric, and people argue about, like, is it an advantage to have the bye or not, because it buys you this extra time, but it also might slow things down. Adi's been trying to get in as well.
Nope.
Your hand is up, buddy. Your hand is up. I'm trying to.
That was from before, and I forgot to take it down.
All right, my bad. All right, Bill, before we go, you've given us a fantastic preview of the first round, but we don't want to neglect the guys that are waiting on the other side of the first round. We've got Texas Tech in the 4 seed taking the JMU Oregon winner. We have Georgia in the 3rd seed waiting for yet another Southern team, Tulane or Ole Miss. We have Ohio State in the 2nd seed waiting for that winner of that game we were just kind of getting excited about in College Station, the A&M Miami game. And then Indiana, number 1 seed Indiana. My God, we could have done the whole episode on them, waiting for yet another red team, Alabama or Oklahoma. What are your thoughts on the second round, and what are your thoughts about those 4 teams? How uniform are your probabilities over championships across those 4 teams?
So the probabilities on the SP Plus side right now is basically, let's see, 29% Ohio State, 24% Indiana, 21% Texas Tech. My numbers love Texas Tech, and they love Texas Tech despite the fact that, I mean, they're much higher on Texas Tech than others, and every single week Tech overachieves against projections by like 2 touchdowns. So it can't raise that number high enough to catch Tech. So I think they're pretty fantastic. They're going to obviously have by far the hardest challenge in the quarterfinals if all the favorites win here and they have to play Oregon, because I think Tech is 3rd in SP Plus, but Oregon is longer, all those kinds of things, if those matter. So I think that's a really, really tough game for them. But from a number standpoint, those 3 stand out. And then you've got Georgia at 10%. Georgia
I test from afar. I wouldn't have put them at like 1/3 of Ohio State and half of Georgia at Texas Tech,
Well, it depends on if you watched early in the season when they looked like they were just playing games unprepared, and just like, oh, we'll figure it out, and then not looking good until the 4th quarter and figuring it out and winning.
But how relevant is early in the season at this point?
Yeah, no, Georgia has figured out the the formula here. They basically, their second national title year with the 4-game playoff, they basically did the same thing. They looked very just mediocre for stretches at a time, but they always brawled their way to a win and then looked great at the end. So,
and Ohio State last year.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I would have them, I have them at 10%. I would have them closer to the pack than that. But from a number standpoint, I get it because SP Plus saw the first half of the season and doesn't trust them all that much. Also, their offense is like Miami's in that they don't make big plays at all. As the defense really rounded into form late in the year, you could really start to question the Georgia offense against Georgia Tech. Terrible Georgia Tech defense. They really didn't do a single thing against them. Alabama has a good defense, but they didn't do much against Alabama either. It was just Bama's offense wasn't doing anything. So I don't completely trust Georgia, but you just have to some degree, say that Kirby Smart knows how to win these games, and they're just going to brawl their way in.
Bill, should reseeding happen in college football?
I like when brackets take on their own personality, like in March Madness, where some years you have a bunch of chalk, and other years the bracket opens wide open for the 8 seed or something like that. Like that's what I enjoy, and so I don't think so. I think if we have a situation where whatever we're talking about here, Alabama suddenly becomes Alabama again and rolls through Oklahoma and Indiana, their reward should be an easier semifinal game, not necessarily having to play like Ohio State or something in the semis.
Guys, I'm curious your response to the probabilities that Bill gave. He gave SP Plus probabilities, and he said 29, 24, 21, and 10 among the top 4 seeds. And then we kind of fudged the 10 back up because we think Georgia's probably got some non-stationarity that's working in his favor now. So make them 15, maybe take some of that from everybody. But spreading from 27 to 15, the top 4 seeds, that feels relatively flat to me. You're talking about just right at 2-1 between.
Yeah, nobody has a 1 in 3 chance. So, yeah.
Which is exciting. I mean, you're saying Texas Tech, a G5 team, has a
not
1
exactly,
in 5
not exactly. They're just not an SEC or Big Ten team.
I'm sorry. Of course. That's, look what I've done. Look what I've done to the
Texas fans.
There. My goodness gracious. I hope my family doesn't listen to that.
Entitlement superiority comes in quick, as it turns out. We had a nice natural experiment here.
There's lots of ways to summarize the quote unquote flatness. The first thing that struck me is that the highest team is quote unquote only 29%. That's one way to look at it. Another is the difference between the first and the fourth, right? That's another way to look at it, kind of being pretty flat. Another way is also just looking at the total probability of the top 4 versus everyone else. So, Bill, just roughly, I would have to give you somewhere in the 8 to 9 to 1 odds to take anybody outside the top 4.
74, yeah, it's about 85% for the top 4. And last year when they gave buys to the conference champions, we had kind of a weird bracket where Ohio State was the best team in the country and the 8 seed. That was certainly a different situation, which I didn't mind. I don't mind weird. I think that should be very obvious. But it's definitely true this year where the top 4 teams are probably, unless you want to make a case for Oregon, and I think you could, they were the 4 best teams as well, and therefore it kind of played out like it should. And Oregon, if they do handle JMU, they're at 7% right now. Nobody else is above. Well, Ole Miss is at 4.5%. Everybody else is at 2 or lower.
But that's it. But it's interesting. You get 1 in 6, and you get Oregon, and then the chance that Mateer actually plays well, Ty Simpson gets his mojo back. Ole Miss is galvanized in the absence of Lane Kiffin, or Miami, Beck lifts the offense somehow. Ultimately, like you get 1 in 6 chance, you get all those possibilities. Does that appeal to anybody? Adi, you always like the field. Do you want the field on this one?
And just to clarify, they don't do
outside the top 4. I don't think I do. Not if Bill's numbers are accurate, not even close.
Well, I'm told they're not, if that helps you at all. I'm told a lot on social.
If your numbers are accurate, it makes this point moot, but they don't do reseeding.
No.
Right in this.
No, that's what I said. Yeah, no reseeding.
I think 1 in 6 is not. I think 1 in 6 would be fun. I mean, it'd be fun card to have, but you're running against 4 very good teams sitting there at the top of the bracket.
What's interesting, Bill?
No, wait, hold on a minute. Okay, are you asking me whether I would take the field at 1 in 6?
Yeah, that's what. Of course, I am.
I mean, yeah, for sure.
But why are you so excited? That's fair odds. It's fair odds. Why are you so excited now?
No, I thought you meant the 50-50 mark, right? Usually
no. Even at 85-15, that's fair odds, Adi, according to FPI.
Right. So I would probably take the field at that if you gave me those odds.
Okay. All right. Bill, we should let you go. What is the single thing you're most excited about seeing this weekend, other than just football again? And you can say Montana State. That's fine.
Well, but yeah, but I mean, I am Brawl of the Wild and the Ferris State Harding D2 title game are both going to be really fun split screen viewing. I got the YouTube multi view going on, and that's going to be really fun to have on there. But no, I really, the one thing we'll have going for us for sure is that 4 new stadiums get to light themselves on fire basically and be as fun as those stadiums have ever been. I do think we'll get at least one good game. Odds suggest that we should, especially with 2 games with tight spreads, but it should just be a really fun kind of spectacle again at the very least.
Wonderful. All right. Thanks for making time for us. Enjoy it. Good luck with your cutting your 8,000 down to 6, and we look forward to reading it, Bill. Thanks you.
Sounds good.
Bill Connelly, you can read him many places, ESPN in particular, founder, creator of SP Plus. Fantastic follow on Twitter and probably Blue Sky, I'm guessing. Bill C _ ESPN. At least that used to be it. Bill Connelly, long time from the show. That has been the first half of Wharton Moneyball. Come back and join us after the break. Welcome back. Welcome back to the second half of Wharton Moneyball, just off the lines with Bill Connelly. Thankful always for time with Bill. We're just going to open things up here in the second half. But before we do that, on the way out, guys, on the way leaving that conversation, Shane was saying there at the break that it had him fired up about college football playoff. We got him back from Europe, and he had to get back into football mindset, American sport mindset. And that was a good pep talk for you, Shane?
It was. I got to say. I was over in Switzerland for a week, and so I wasn't really keeping up with kind of. I heard the angst about the college football playoffs, but it's nice to actually dive into the matchups that are as opposed to the matchups that could have been.
That's right. That's exactly right. You skipped the right season, skip the angst season. Now you got back for the actual games.
Well, I love angst in general. I wish I could have been around.
There's a time and place to litigate that, but now it's time to pay attention to football. We are nearing NFL playoffs. We're not that far away. We're down to, is it 4 weeks? 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
3 weeks of games left. That's it. Let's do what caught your eye, but I know somebody's got, who put this on the board? This is the most remarkable thing I've read in a while. I'll give it to Shane. Shane's probably made this observation.
Is this the 15 years? It's been 15 years since the AFC Championship game has not involved either Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes. 2010 was the last time it happened. And Adi, do you remember who the AFC Championship game was in 2010? Just for a throwback?
Nope. It wasn't the Jets.
It was.
It was the Jets.
It was the Steelers against the Jets.
No kidding.
Isn't that amazing?
I blanked that out. That's
the Jets. I mean, it's been like over a decade of mediocrity since then. But the Jets made the AFC Championship 2 years in a row.
Yeah, that was Mark Sanchez, right?
Yes.
Right. Now I remember that. Yeah.
My goodness.
Okay. It was a butt fumble or 2 ago. It was. I mean, it was honestly the fact that we have to go back. I mean, this is more just about obviously, kind of the dynastic nature of the AFC the last this millennia, I guess, and the fact that Mahomes specifically. I mean, Brady was very consistent, obviously in this, but Mahomes just so consistently making. I mean, before this year, the earliest the Chiefs were eliminated. In the Mahomes era was the overtime of the AFC Championship game.
Right.
That's unbelievable. Okay. Is there anything close to, what would even come close to rivaling that in terms of 2 players' dominance over half of the sport? I mean, there's not, quarterbacks are kind of a unique thing. And these dynasties are also relatively unique. And
I think basketball, the dynastic basketball, I think you'd have to kind of turn to, it'd only be kind of something like where, if we'd went right from essentially
Magic in the 80s,
the 2000 Lakers without anything in between, maybe that would be the closest analog.
Hold on. Y'all went different places. Oh. Let's do one at a time. Eric said Bird and Magic. So how many finals in a row had either Bird or Magic in it? It's not
actually better.
I do know in the 80s, the Lakers won 5. The Celtics won 3. So that's 8. The Sixers won 1 in the 80s. And I think maybe the Houston Rockets may have won 1 or something.
There might have been a streak of like 8 or 9 there, because I know the Sixers one was really early in the 80s. And so
82, 83.
The Mahomes Brady is the
but anything close, anything structurally close to that is what we're kind of fishing around for.
Well, the Yankees in the 50s won, of course, 5 straight championships, and they would have gone to the World Series. I mean, Yogi Berra won 11 championships in however many years he played.
Matt played 13 seasons. I think he won. He went to the World Series in 10.
I mean, if we're allowed to go back to when there was like 8 teams in the league,
I was going to say,
Russell also won like
update me.
11 championships in a row or something like that in the NBA, right?
Thank you, Shane. I was going to go to that. Like, remind me, honestly, I need to be reminded. How many teams were there
was like
when
12,
the Yankees were dominating?
16.
Oh,
16.
oh,
Eight
so
in
I'll
each
bring-
league. They're
I'll bring
8
up
in each
another-
league.
Yeah, I was just going to bring
And
up.
also, you went straight from winning the league to playing the World Series. There was just like you win your pennant, you go to the World Series. Is that the way it was?
Yes, that's right. That's all there was a World Series.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just going to bring up in
different.
tennis. I was just going to bring up in tennis now.
There you go. Yeah.
Between Sinner and Alcaraz.
Yeah.
I know they've won the last, I'm going to say 8 or 9. And I mean, they haven't been around that long, but it's probably been 3 years at least since like the two, at least one of them hasn't been in the final.
Okay. Wow.
And I'm predicting, just my own belief, unless one of them gets injured, which could obviously happen, this could be the greatest 2-person run unless a third person joins him. So that's the problem. Is you guys remember there was a stretch between Nadal, Federer, and Djokovic where they won something like, well, they have 66 combined between the 3 of them. They won something like 66 out of 71 or 2. Like Del Potro won 1. Andy Murray won 3. So maybe it's 66 out of 75 because Murray won 3, Wawrinka won 3, and there's another guy that won the U.S. Open. I just forget his name. That beats Zverev in the finals. But like those might be the only people with championships in the last 20 years, except for those 3 players.
So Eric, remind me on that again. It feels like Federer and Nadal got going before Djokovic joined that 3. Am I right? Was there a moment where Federer and Nadal kind of dominated? There's a 2-person domination.
There is. There's absolutely a period where they dominated.
And you don't even have to look at like really to kind of make this analogous. You just expand out to like making the semifinals essentially in tennis, right? Because we're talking about just going to the AFC Championship game.
Well, the interesting thing is in football, they have to come out of the same conference. So one of those guys was coming out of the same side every time.
Yeah.
But okay, those are good analogs. That's interesting. All right, so that was Shane's caught his eye as a starting place.
Let me build on Shane's since it directly builds on it. So I'm sitting here thinking, especially given what happened in the NFL this last week, where the Bills made a pretty impressive comeback against a very good New England team, by the way. Somehow, some way, you say if Josh Allen, so Mahomes is not there now.
Oh, if it's not
by the way,
this year,
Lamar, the Ravens are not making the playoffs either. So
we're not giving up the fight yet.
All right, but they're likely not making the playoffs. They could win the division. Absolutely. I don't remember what their tiebreaker is.
No, they're basically. I mean, the division is their only path, I think, to the playoffs at this point. But it's not. I mean, they're I guess probably below 50%. But I mean, they've still got a game against Pittsburgh, right? So.
Yeah, they went out. They'll win. They'll go to the playoffs. I believe.
Oh, did they win the first game against Pittsburgh? Do they have a
just
tiebreaker?
lost it. They just lost it. So I don't know where the tiebreaker is.
Either way, let's assume they win out. They catch up the game. They win the tiebreaker. All right, then they can absolutely go. This seems to be a year. There's even more pressure on Josh Allen to get it done, and if he doesn't get it done, then you have to start wondering. Look, not that he's old or anything like that. But you have to start wondering, does the Bills window start to shut a little bit? And now you start thinking, maybe it's the Patriots window. Maybe it's the Broncos window. Maybe it's, no, I'm just saying there are teams in the AFC that are strong.
Well, I mean, I think just to generalize your point, it seems it's more wide open, at least on the AFC side, than it ever has been in years.
But you just went to something bigger than just the season. You talk about the Bills window closing. How many different windows did Brady get? 2 big windows, right? But 2 distinct big windows, and
there's at least 3. There's actually 3 retoolings. Like what we're really kind of asking, what I think Eric's implying is that typically for a team, a window is only like 4, 5, 6 years, and then you got to cut almost all teams. You have to have a down year or 2, and actually even the Patriots did have that 2010, 2010, 2011, the Jets made the AFC Championship a couple times. Those were the Patriots' down years.
Look, the most amazing thing to me about all the great things Tom Brady accomplished, he went 11 years without winning the Super Bowl. Well, I just want to say that again. If his career had ended, if his career ends at age 36, 37, which is where many quarterbacks' career ends, Tom Brady, I could argue, is not the GOAT. He's one of the GOATs, but he had 3 Super Bowl wins, right? And then he went on to win 4 more. That's what's remarkable, with an 11-year stretch in between.
It's funny. You said it ambiguously. You said he went 11 years without winning the Super Bowl. I'm like, well, how many years did Marino go?
No, but I meant after having won 3 and 4 years, then he went 11 years.
No, you're 100% right.
But Marino's an interesting case study too of like, I mean, didn't he play like in his rookies, like one of his first couple seasons, he went to the Super Bowl.
Second year.
And I'm sure at the time people were like, well, this is going to be a semi-annual occurrence. And I don't think he ever made it back.
He never made it back, and they got blown out in that Super Bowl. And actually, I don't even remember if they played in an AFC championship game. Maybe one. Like, he didn't come close, really, to winning to even getting back to the Super Bowl and the rest of the
but we got to get Josh Allen in the Super Bowl. We have to. It's a crime against humanity if he doesn't get into the Super Bowl. And this is just his first window. And this is my only point. I think you probably meant it that way.
I meant that's the end, the closing of this window.
This window. Very, very good. Well, I mean, where are you on the AFC having seen that? Like, the Ravens could get on a run. The Bills could get on a run. Neither one of these teams has, done that great so far in the regular season, but they have these quarterbacks where when they're on, they're really tough to beat. I mean, you don't want to bet against either one of those teams.
I can speak for sorry, go ahead, Shane.
Dreaming of a 1985 Super Bowl rematch.
Come on.
Bears against the Patriots, baby. Let's do it.
Do you want the outcome? Same outcome, Shane?
No. Revenge rematch.
That was one of the most lopsided of all time.
I guess if you add a priority, is it better to get blown out in the Super Bowl than not make the Super Bowl? No, actually.
I'll tell you which team I think I would not want to play the most right now in the AFC, and that's the Houston Texans. That team has come off the mat, and they look incredibly strong. And, all the concerns about Stroud now seem to have gone away. Their defense is certainly one of the top 3 or 4 in the league. I'm just saying that's a tough out.
You know who else has a great defense and their quarterback's playing out of his mind right now is Jacksonville.
Well, that's another up. That's
Jaguars another. Like 10-4. Like, look at Lawrence's last few games. He's actually.
That was going to be my
it was Adi. I didn't mean to steal your thunder.
It's not much of a thunder, but just as a little history, Cade likes to bring up that when I built this model for predicting NFL draft rank based on high school statistics, Lawrence had the highest number ever. So based on his high school, he was predicted to be, and he did go first in the draft after college. But he hasn't had that great a career. But my algorithm never said anything about that. That I didn't check.
It would be great if we have more of these examples of guys who it takes a few years and they have to overcome lots of doubts. I mean, Stroud has this unbelievable rookie season, and imagine this guy. His second season isn't as good as his first. Shocking. And so let's not completely get off the bus. But what most strikes me about this conversation is that we're talking about all these exciting AFC teams, and we haven't even gotten to the AFC West yet. I mean, the Broncos are ridiculous. I still don't believe in them somehow, but they're ridiculous. And the Chargers, who I want to be great, are actually doing reasonably well. We're talking about 6 teams that we think could reasonably represent, or maybe 7.
I think it is. I think there's I mean, again, if it depends how it really kind of goes out. If Pittsburgh sneaks into the playoffs, I'm gonna rule them out of the Super Bowl.
Yes,
automatically. That's just their usual like 10-7 magic or whatever. But other than that, like, I do think any one of those teams are legit kind of Super Bowl contenders. I think the NFC is pretty wide open as well. Certainly not the teams that necessarily I expected to be strong on that side, but there's like 5 or 6 teams I could talk into the Super Bowl. I think at least on the NFC side as well.
Not the NFC South winner. I can promise you that because I've seen.
They're not one of the teams, unfortunately.
That's not one of the teams. Whoever makes it from that will. They could win maybe. Let's be generous and say maybe they could win the first round game at home against maybe against Seattle, maybe, if you don't trust Darnold. No, I'm just saying.
Yeah. No,
make it. But that's it. They're not beating the Rams. They're not beating the Eagles. They're not beating the Lions. Whoever else up there, they're not beating any of those teams.
Just no team.
I was just going to ask, Eric, kind of what your thoughts on why they've been. I mean, I've checked in on them many times during the season because I follow them, but they seem again they're a frustrating team, almost like the Eagles, where I feel like even though they've had some injuries, the talent is way greater than the outcome. I don't know if it's a coaching thing.
Well, I think right now the team is the fans, the team, everyone. The coaching, that they're down on the coaching, despite the fact that Todd Bowles has won the division. This could be his 4th straight year winning the division, which is unheard of in the NFC South. Secondly, the thing that I've been concerned about for the last 7 weeks, I watch obviously every snap of all of their games. I think either he's injured or he's just not playing well. Baker Mayfield is not playing well. He's missing receivers. I mean, I'm pretty sure for the first half of the season, he was the most accurate quarterback in the NFL. And he was completing over 70% of his passes.
We were chanting MVP at the time, I remember.
Correct. He's not been playing well. He's been overthrowing receivers, missing open receivers. And also, by the way, their 3 most accomplished offensive players, by the way, were out for 6 games. I mean, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and their running back, Bucky Irving. So let me just say, to give him some credit, they are still leading the division for whatever that's worth. And for literally, he's been throwing to nobody. The rookie Egbuka and a bunch of other guys you've never heard of for 7 or 8 games of the season. But no, I don't think Baker Mayfield is playing well.
That's a tough.
I was just kind of looking at the PFF grades, and he does not have a good report there. I have to.
Anything else in the NFC that is exciting to you? I feel like there's teams just keep on they get a chance to really pull ahead. They don't. They get knocked down. They get up there and they get knocked down again. The Rams are moving again. The Seahawks are moving again. They've both had bad losses, but they're sitting there at 11-3.
I got to ask my question I got to ask my question again and again and again. How much is it worth to you? I'll ask Adi to start because he's going to tell me nothing. How much is it worth to you that the Eagles are the defending Super Bowl champion? A number of players in their team have been to 2 Super Bowls. They have a history of success in the playoffs. They got a winning coach, et cetera, et cetera. Does that worth anything to you if the Eagles are playing, I don't know, the Lions, the Rams, whoever it is in the playoffs? Does that move the point spread at all for you, Adi, or it's not worth a thing?
Nope.
Adi, if you had to take a side, one side or the other, you had to.
Okay, which is the direction? I don't think it hurts, so I would have to take the side of the experience.
I don't know. I don't know if it's clearly or not. I think. Conditional. 1 second. Conditional.
No, you didn't ask me clearly. You said if I had to pick a side. That's no clear in that question.
You said clearly that.
I said that if I had to. No. The decision is clear. I didn't say that the effect size is.
I agree. I disagree with what you said, which is that the decision is clear because.
Okay, you think it.
I think there's downsides to championships as well. You get complacency and cockiness and maybe a little less fire, all of those things. Now, if you're going to condition it on having gotten deep into the playoffs, you've obviously overcome some of those risks. So maybe I don't care at that point. But if I had to pick a direction in general for the success of the team the next year, I would pick the short. I'd pick the other side.
Not to further complicate the mix, but in this hypothetical exercise, we're supposed to remember that the Eagles have won the Super Bowl twice in the last few years. But are we also supposed to remember that 2023 collapse that looks a lot like this one? Or can we condition on that as well?
The Eagles have 3 games to kind of get things right. If they're going to win the division, it looks like they're going to win the division.
Well, you might even be cheering for this 2023 analogy because if I remember how that ended is they limped into the playoffs and got annihilated by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
That is true. That is true.
Look, do they have injuries like they had in 2023?
Not as much. Well, I mean, no. Yeah. Here it seems like the story seems to be more just
The weakest part of the team right now, Shane, I think you would agree, is the offensive line. They're not creating holes for the running back. They're not protecting Hurts that well. The offensive line, Adi, has been banged up for the Eagles this year. But if
that is a more
have their
important
skill
line
players,
to the team
I think Saquon's played almost every game. I think Jalen Hurts has played every game. I think Devonta Smith has played most games. I think A.J. Brown maybe was out a game or two, but nothing lengthy. So the answer is skill players, no, but the big linemen, I think that's where the injuries have happened.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, Cade.
Well, I was just going to say that the field seems more open to me at this point than in memory. I mean, I think anytime since we've been doing the show. I would claim that. Like
we still had the Mahomes cloud hanging over us this time.
That opens it up. It opens it up.
Really does.
It really does.
I mean,
and the fact that the Ravens are down and the Eagles look, less
so
than
many of the
their
top
former
teams.
selves.
Like if you take the top 8 teams, say from last year, and you look at how, or like none of the AFC championship contenders are going to. Well, I guess the Buffaloes could still be in it, but I feel like it's a fresh group of kind of teams,
right? Which makes it fun. Makes it fun. All right, let's change sports. Adi, you haven't given us a caught your eye yet. We've got a few minutes left. What do you want to claim here?
Well, what had caught my eye was the performance of Trevor Lawrence in this last game. I think that was his best game of his entire career. But I can move on. What's catching my eye in baseball is some of the new contracts. Alonso going to the Orioles, and the question that I was ruminating on is how do we decide whether or not someone's being over or underpaid in their free agent contract? There's a rule of thumb that suggests that you should be paying somewhere around $8 to $9 million per WAR, but nobody knows is comfortable defining what they mean. Is that your past WAR that you should be paying, or are you paying for your future WAR? And how do you determine that?
My own opinion is it should, I guess, be some kind of future WAR, but it shouldn't be WAR, right? Because WAR, again, is good for comparing all players because it's compared to like a replacement player compared to who they could kind of bring in from like out of the league, I guess, or like whatever.
Well, I bring that up, but hold on, Shane. I bring it up only because I'm trying to answer a specific question, which is determine whether someone's being over or underpaid.
Yeah, no, and I guess I'm all for that exercise. I just, you'd have to kind of somehow, in my mind, I feel like you'd want to look at, what you're trying to estimate is kind of future wins above who they had, or like wins above who they could have got. Like it's wins above replacement, but it's a specific kind of when we were talking about free agency signings, it's a different it's still a concept of replacement player because it's free agent, but you have to define it very differently.
Let me ask you, is there any reason why I understand wins is sort of the goal, but isn't winning the World Series the goal? So what I mean by that is, let's imagine I told you right now, the Colorado Rockies, they had the worst record, the White Sox, I just forget which one. Maybe it was the White Sox this last year. So if I told you the White Sox could sign Aaron Judge, and you're saying it's based on WAR, Adi, 8 or 9 million, so $90 million a year, they're going to pay Aaron Judge for the next 5 years. So they're going to pay him $450 million for 5 years. But we know there's no chance they're winning, or not no chance, very low.
Why not? You can't use probability of winning the World Series for evaluating a single player transaction because even Aaron Judge on a bad team isn't going to move the needle.
So my point is that the value of a player economically should relate to what team is he going to.
Yeah. That's what I was kind of getting at.
There's a premium that the good teams have to pay to get those extra value, and they'll pay it because they need it to get over that hump.
Exactly.
I think 538 back in Neil Payne when he was doing his hot takedown show. I don't know if you ever listened to that back then. They had this metric where you'd pay this extra penalty that you'd have to in dollars in order to secure the players at the top. And it's well, you can calibrate it and calculate it, and it is a bonus. By the way, when you say Judge, if you were to pay Judge for the next 5 years, you wouldn't do it at 9 WAR. That might be, I wouldn't say he's going to deliver 9 WAR for 5 years. I'd say 5 or 6 would be a good average for the next 5 years as a statistician. As a Yankee fan, of course it's 9.
Yeah, well, that's getting to the future versus retrospective aspect of it.
Guys, I had a conversation this past week that is on point here, and y'all will find it interesting, and it's also I'm curious your thoughts on it. So the Cubs World Series year. Remind me of the closer they traded for at the deadline. His name.
Cubs? Was that when they got Chapman?
Yeah, Chapman. Okay. So that was an analytically savvy staff. And let's say that they were calculating the change in win probability with that signing. And they had a very specific sense of what that was. What do you think their starting win probability was without that? And we don't need all the details. They were having a good season, but they're like trying to take a good season to just a little more likely because of what Eric says. What we care about is winning the championship. So what do you think they're starting? What do you think they had their internally estimated win the World Series probability before and after that signing? If you just had to guess, just ballpark. I mean, there's no way.
I'm going to guess like a 5% difference or something like that in the two.
No, it couldn't be that big. Must be smaller than that. That was an internal measurement. Do you know the answer to this?
Let's say I know the answer. Let's just assume.
Let's say he knows the answer. I would say that the increment is probably in the realm of 2% or so. That would be my guess.
I would have guessed. My intuition would have told me. Well, let me ask you a question, Adi, to calibrate us all. Let's suppose I go back to the late 90s, and I tell you I'm going to take Mariano Rivera off the Yankees, and I'm going to put in some good, but not above average, but not exceptional closer. I would think that would have affected the Yankees winning by at least 5%.
I agree with
Mariano, not Chapman.
Well, no. Chapman for short periods can be as good as Mariano was for 15 consecutive years.
But somehow pay for that consistency. That's what costs you the money. That's what gives you that probability. The randomness.
That was good Chapman era. Remember, he was
good.
5%.
I mean, Adi, you guys got the worst of Chapman. He's actually been a very consistent pitcher over most of his career.
I'm traumatized by Chapman.
He doesn't pitch as well when they know what's coming, bro.
Okay, so
anyway,
okay, guys.
I could imagine something like.
Come on, give us the answer.
Yeah,
this is an internal question, not the right answer. It's what they thought.
Let's say they thought it was 4%, and it was from 21 to 25.
Yeah,
and I think it's
going to say 20 to 25.
And I think the analogy here is what the Dodgers did this very recently, which is basically took a team that already has probably a pretty high chance to win the World Series, as high as it can already be, and added the top closer in the game, which was their team weakness, in the previous season and the playoffs.
So I don't remember the season in all its details, but I would have suggested the same percentage change in the win probability, 20%. And but I had it down at much lower. I would have guessed that the Cubs
starting at lower base
season at half that. Yeah.
Well, it was a very good team, and to me, I had zero calibration for any of these numbers, and it's about these front office decisions because they make this major trade decision. They're already got a strong team. The question is, when you've got a strong team, is that the time to kind of push in your chips a little further to increase the chance of actually winning the championship?
Yes.
But if you do that, what are you actually doing? You're only moving at 4%. It's like, wow, that the big move to really capitalize on the momentum is to move from 21 to 25. Wow, and
that's about right.
Paid off. In this case, it paid off. All right. Good fun, guys. Why don't we wrap it there then? We will come back and do another show next week. Oh, we're moving into the 23rd. Are we going to do a show on the 23rd? That's an open question. We will revisit that offline and come back. We'll probably do something next week in some form, but we're nearing the end of the year, which is stunning. Thanks for the whole team here on behalf of Shane Jensen, on behalf of Adi Wyner, on behalf of Eric Bradlow. Many thanks to Dion Simpkins, to Dion Patel, to Marissa Reyna, to the whole team who supports us. We appreciate it. And to you guys for listening. Come back and join us next time. Between now and then, enjoy your sports.